Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia by the one and only Dan Dix of Press for Truth. And I wanted to get into something today that I find is a huge concern among our viewers, among many of our viewers. You've done lots of videos on it at Press for Truth, and that is 5G. The fifth generation, this new rollout of 5G worldwide, which a lot of people would say is highly inefficient, highly costly, dangerous. I wanted to get your take on what 5G means as they start to roll it out. Do you find it to be a concern? Are a lot of people concerned? What are you getting regarding 5G?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of concerns, and the concerns are multifaceted. I mean, there's clearly the privacy issue. There's the concerns with our health. I mean, we're essentially being treated as guinea pigs here. But one of the big concerns I'm hearing about a lot, and that I have, is with the infrastructure itself. You know, it's really interesting, the fact of what has to be put up physically in place. Literally hundreds, thousands of antennas, not very far apart because of the wavelength that these, millimeter wavelengths that these operate on. So they have to be close together. So we're talking about some serious infrastructure. They call it a mosaic mesh of interconnecting cells, essentially. That's going to be like picture it like an invisible mesh over top or all throughout a city. And yeah, that's scary to think about, that we're at a time now when they can set up such an apparatus, such a system, and have that physically in place. That should be scary to everyone.
Yeah, I find that we are looking at hubs in front of like every single house, and that just seems incredibly inefficient and unreasonable. You go out into the rural communities, for example, and I don't know, you could barely get 3G internet. I don't know how they're planning to roll this out in the countryside. People, maybe it's another push to get people into big cities. I don't know. We're seeing a lot of that, but it just seems on top of that there are way too many untested, untried health risks involved. And now none of us are health experts here, obviously, but nonetheless, it's non-ionizing radiation. But at the same time, what can happen when you're, prone to be getting hit by this radiation at, every moment of the day, is that it could actually stop your hormone-created melatonin, which can actually lead to a heightened risk of cancer. That's just what the National Cancer Institute will admit to. But a lot of people would also say, well, it's not that much different from 4G. What do you say to that when it comes to, like, as far as health goes, as far as this rollout of this technology and frequency, when people say it's the same thing as 4G, it's not that big of a difference? What do you think?
If that were true, then we wouldn't be hearing about it as much as we are. There wouldn't be so much controversy surrounding this. We see a lot of scandals with China's Huawei company, and they're being blocked from setting up their certain 5G systems in other areas of the world. So there's internationally, there's people fighting about this. I mean, this is clearly a real big issue. So yeah, this is that should be clear to you why it's very separate from what we currently have with 3G, 4G. This is something on a whole nother level, whole nother ballpark. And like I said, internationally, there's still a challenge for who's going to come out on top here. But as long as the powers that ought not to be, as I often call them, have their system set in place, they'll be happy, and that's what's concerning to me.
Well, and yeah, absolutely. There's huge monopolies at play here. Huawei, there's AT&T, there's multiple other telecom giants out there that are paying and sponsoring articles in major mainstream news publications, and that gets to the point where it's like, oh, well, maybe these guys have a lot of power and they're just paying for the exposure to make it look like everything's fine and we should just relax and deal with it. And I find that to be a major issue going forward, is that there's so much news coverage that's all just positive. If you look up 5G, it's almost all positive stuff, and you see that relay with videos that we do on YouTube, just some of the comments you'll get from people that are like, oh, you guys are fear-mongering, 5G is fine. Then why is there really no tried and tested real method of understanding if it's actually okay or not? We're just being used as guinea pigs to find out. We'll wait and see. Yeah. I mean, what do you think that means for us going forward?
Well, just wait till they tie this in with the smart appliances, the smart homes, the Internet of Things. And when essentially they have that all interconnected and they tie those dots, they're making a world that will be inescapable from their all-seeing, watchful eye. That's what the privacy issue really comes down to. Is they're making it so that you cannot remove yourself from the system anymore. You won't be able to just go to some barren country, some land where they aren't affected by this, because it will be everywhere in a global Wi-Fi mesh. So
Yeah, and that's a huge issue as well that you bring up there, is that like with the unrolling of the technocratic state in like China, a place like that, social credit, all that, it makes it so much easier for them to track us all the time. They don't need tracking chips in our hands anymore. They have facial recognition everywhere. They got these social credit scores, so people can't travel, people can't buy things, eat at certain restaurants, fly, be on a boat. I mean,
and they're
crazy.
Socially engineering us to want to willingly give up these things. It's not by accident that we are purposefully giving over information to places like Facebook that are then saying, beyond their control, losing our information. Yeah, right. I mean, this is all part and parcel of the plan. But again, at this point, at this stage in the game, all these things are still, we don't have to do it. It's not mandatory at this point. So I think we're at an interesting fork in the road with 5G. It could still go various ways, but we have to resist it everywhere we can right now. And I think that starts with the infrastructure. Maybe on the individual town levels, we need to fight this. Go to your town hall meetings and have meetings about these antennas coming into your town, and fight it on the grassroots level.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing, is that it's like, are we going to be end up living in the country to escape this, or trying to escape it? Because again, while it's inescapable in these big cities, at the end of the day, it's not really inescapable if you're in the middle of nowhere, because it's so inefficient to unroll, right? So a lot of people we know, and myself included, and John here at WAM, who works in telecom, and they have to shut off these major cell phone towers when they work on it, and they're still feeling it after it's shut off. I mean, that's an obvious thing. If you're feeling that, obviously it has some effect on the body. So that's where people have to be a little bit concerned and go like, is this going to kill people long term? Are we being used as guinea pigs? Have we seen this before? Yes. Medications throughout the past that they gave pregnant mothers, where babies were born with half an arm and mutated, and but that was fine because we needed to test it somehow. Now we know. It's like it's so crazy the way the world's going right now, and this technocratic superstate has been being rolled out for so long. It's a big new Brzezinski Trilateral Commission, and it's hard not to go to that conspiracy theorist angle when it comes to this kind of rollout, because it's happening so fast and they're just like forcing it in our faces out of nowhere. So do you think that there's going to be any success in trying to spread this message and tell people maybe we should look further into this before we just allow it to install hubs outside of our baby's bedroom?
I do think there is still hope. I mean, there's movements popping up all over the world. Look at the yellow vest, that's sparked in Europe and now spreading internationally. Little things like that are happening all the time. Here in BC, there was a big pushback against the smart meters, and a lot of people were fighting against that and speaking out about the privacy and the health aspects to that one as well. So yeah, there's growing pockets of resistance to this, which does give me hope. Now, as we said, they've got all the power, they've got all the money, and they look like they're going for this. They're going to be setting it up. But I think we're still about probably 4 or 5 years out from this being actually implemented. So there's a lot that can be done in that time. There's a lot we can do to raise awareness about it, tell people how to protect themselves, and maybe if we push back hard enough, we can eventually stop this thing.
And if not, I think I hear a nice mountain home calling my name. So anyway, thanks for going into this with us. Of course, everyone has to check out pressfortruth.ca if they haven't yet already. And of course, Press for Truth on YouTube. And give them a few more examples, because right now we're fighting a real battle here on YouTube with demonetization, shadow banning, etc. So where else can people find you outside of that centralized spectrum?
Yeah, you definitely want to check out all the alternatives like Steemit, steemit.com/@pressfortruth. From there, you'll be able to find my DTube. And then, we got BitChute and Minds, of course. All those links are always located in the description of every one of my videos. So yeah, get on over to those decentralized blockchain-based platforms while we still can.
Yeah, I mean, this revolution probably won't be televised, and it might not be YouTubed either, so we got to get on that as soon as we can and support independent media, no matter who that is, whether it's myself, Dan, Luke, any of the people in this independent media world that are battling this right now, because it all plays together. 5G, health effects, monetary system, politics, and the censoring of independent media. So anyway, thanks for going into this with us, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Dan Dix signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth truth, be the change. Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.